Dear Markiplier, Marky, king of FNAF Plier. I know you don't know me and I don't know you. I'm just some random guy on the internet and there's an astronomically small chance you'd ever see this. But if for some reason you do, I just want to say, you did it, man. You made an absolutely phenomenal movie, the likes of which we rarely ever see. Not just in like the current movie climate, just like rarely ever. Even in the past, you rarely see a movie this good. You made it to theaters, you inspired millions, and I'd argue you've tremendously aided in the breaking down of that wall between like online content creator and big official movie productions. I genuinely see the release of this movie as like a big historical moment. I can see the stupid YouTube video essays in like 10 to 15 years, they're all talking about how this movie paved the way for you and countless other creators to do all of these projects because they just said, you know what, I'm making a movie. And then they just did. On behalf of me and like everybody with a dream, I sincerely thank you. Thank you. On with the video. If you're just here to know if this movie's any good, it is. It just is. Go watch it. If it's still in a theater near you, go watch it there. This movie was basically tailor-made for a theater experience. That is the ideal way to watch it. So if it's still available, go watch it. Go watch it on the biggest screen you can find. How do you talk about a film like this? This is one of those movies you so seldom see. When the credits roll, you're sitting there, mouth agape. You don't know what to say. A million thoughts rush through your head. You're frantically trying to grab just one of them. Something. Anything at all to make sense of what you just seen. But every time you grab a word, it slips out of your hand, blown away by the jet stream of your mind. A movie that makes you feel so many different things in so many different ways, for so many different reasons, that when it ends, you're left there, sitting in utter silence, and you just sit there thinking, what the hell did I just watch? Very few movies have made me feel like this. I've watched a lot of movies in my life. I have no doubt that it's gone into the thousands, and I can probably point to like 10 to maybe 15, depending on how far I stretch the concept, that have made me feel like this. Movies like Reservoir Dogs, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Thing, arguably Bob Roberts, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, Rope, and if we expanded it to TV shows, I'd throw in Twin Peaks: The Return into that list. Still too hot. Genuinely. And this isn't just me having drunk the Mark-ade or something. Mark was never really one of the big inspirations for me. Like, I was aware of his presence. He was there. He existed. Occasionally, I'd glance in this direction. He wasn't there for like the fundamental foundations of like who I'd become or anything. Like some of the other creators on this platform. He didn't help form my tastes or my sense of humor. Every once in a while, I'd check out one of his videos and then I'd go right back to watching The Gaming Historian or Random Encounters: The Power of Pong or The Shovel Werewolf. The Shovel Werewolf is peak fiction, by the way. Like, even the main thing I knew him from was FNAF the Musical. Side note, Mark has the voice of a siren. Like, if he sang for me, I'd let him drown me in a blood ocean. Well, let's be fair. Is it true on the back of my goat? But when I heard that Mark was planning on making a feature film that would show up in theaters based off of a very unique 1-hour indie horror game, my interest was piqued. And I followed the project at a distance ever since. The movie was in development for around 3 years. I don't have the exact dates, but I know Mark was in communication with... You know what? I'm not gonna risk it. Hey Google.
Hey, what's up, you basic bitch?
How do you pronounce this name?
David Shemaisky,
the creator of the original Iron Law.
Why don't you learn to read, you piece of shit?
During the development of the lore update that ended up releasing on June 19th, 2022, Markiplier, fresh off the heels of In Space with Markiplier, was looking to make a movie. He had recently played Iron Lung and thought, that'd make a pretty good movie. They worked together on the script, and filming started on March 7th and ended on May 1st, 2023. Markiplier acted, wrote, directed, he even did a bunch of the editing. He even made a render farm so he could do complicated edits. If you don't know what a render farm is, basically just take like 12 MacBooks and hot glue them together. Part of what makes this film so special is the majority of it is practical effects. Huge props to the makeup department. This movie wouldn't be nearly as good without them. They did a fantastic job. They nearly made me gag several times. And I don't gag easily. They put the submarine that the film takes place in on a NACMO, a device that allows them to shake the set around and also turn Mark into a ragdoll. This film holds the record for the most fake blood in a movie, beating out the Evil Dead remake, which I'd say arguably cheated, seeing as it just kind of had red rain at the end, at 80,000 gallons. Call me a blood purist, but actually don't call me that. That sounds really bad. But even if somebody in the future managed to have more fake blood than this movie, I don't think it would be anywhere near as authentic of blood as this film. This movie, it is so viscous. It is so thick and real, and if another film were to beat it, it would probably be another Evil Dead remake situation where it's just kind of a bunch of red water. There are so many freaking sweet shots in this movie, like... There we go. There's so many friggin' sweet shots in this movie. So many very low lighting shots where there's only like a button illuminating an entire room, or Mark just being silhouetted. Every new angle that the camera takes is absolutely fantastic. They really do get everything you possibly could out of the concept of being trapped on this little submarine for the entirety of the movie. And my God, do Mark and David perfectly capture that sense of desperateness. Mark's acting in this film is legitimately heartbreaking at times, while still having tons of funny moments. I gotta say, drinking straight rubbing alcohol is quite the mood. There's so much desperation in this film. Mark's character will reach a complete rock bottom, and then there'll be the smallest glimmer of hope. A 1 in 1 billion chance of survival presents itself, and we immediately see Mark's character, Simon, leap at the chance. Even in a world where there is no hope, no better life for him out there, he still tries. Simon comes face to face with a being that wiped out nearly all of humanity. And you know what he does in the face of this all-consuming horror. Something that if a lesser man had come across, they would lay down and die. You know what Simon does? He screams, "F you." He fights to the bitter end, to the very last second. Even if he got out, he'd likely starve to death, but he's still trying his hardest. When he hears a voice telling him where to go, he thinks it's all in his head. But he still goes for it. He could have lied down and died. It would have been a lot easier and a lot more painless. But no. Instead, he puts the vest on the black box. That way he could get one final warning message to the people on the surface to stay away from this abomination, to run away from this hell. And he succeeds. He rips his own arm off in the process, a testament to just how desperate he is. He dies desperately fighting to save somebody who will never know his name, in a world where there's nothing really worth saving. That is beautiful. I'll tell you what though, it has nothing on FNAF the musical. H Bomber Guy did a review of the movie on Letterboxd soon after it was released. In it, he points out one of the few criticisms that I have heard about this film, and that is the fact that it kind of drags around the middle, and how he believes it was completely intentional. And I fully agree with him on this front. There's a decently large portion of this film that's just him marking spots on a map, and that does go on for quite a while. Though I don't think this movie would really work without that period of mundanity. Yes, it may be a little repetitive, slow, or boring at times, maybe. I don't really think so. But if we didn't have this period, if we just skipped all of the boring stuff, I don't think the movie would be anywhere near as good as it is. We spend this time getting attached to Simon, feeling everything he's feeling. All of these little wordless moments where he's trying to map out the cave in his head, all the little arm movements, facial expressions. That's part of what makes this movie so special. Unlike Mark's other adventures, like In Space or Heist, it isn't made to be a first-person experience, but we are made to feel every single thing he is feeling throughout this movie. Every victory, every loss, and every boil on his skin. One of the other complaints that I've heard about this film is audio mixing issues, which maybe in some cases that is a thing. The theater might just screw something up. But also there's a lot of dialogue in this film that isn't really meant to be heard clearly. Something I didn't notice until my second viewing was whispers in the background for the majority of the film. Legitimately, on that second viewing I thought I was going insane in the theater. I felt like there was some annoying person to my right, but every time I'd look over my shoulder, there was nobody there. And that's not to say that the theater was empty or anything. These are some of the most packed theaters I've ever seen. People were really excited to see this movie. Almost every line of dialogue that isn't Simon's comes through this rinky-dink little radio setup that can barely pick up a signal while so deep down in the blood ocean. So naturally, there's a lot of dialogue that cuts in and out, or is very faint. It really contributes to the whole atmosphere of desperation. You're on the edge of your seat trying to make out every word because it could be plot important. Just as Simon is clinging on to every word, it's life or death for him. The static and the fading of the radio distorting and obscuring Simon's one lifeline is a horror all to itself. Yes, I understand concerns about accessibility. I feel like there's a very interesting conversation to be had about trying to adapt this purposeful obscuring of information to something like subtitles. There is a very fine line to walk here because there needs to be accessibility options, and there will be. But the way it was in the theater is the way it was meant to be experienced. And I think there is a very interesting conversation to be had out there about how you might go about adapting these elements of obscuring info into a form that is meant to make it more easily understood. Maybe putting static over the subtitles of things that you aren't really meant to fully understand. I don't know. And frankly, that isn't really my job. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how Mark and his crew go about that. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program of me being a f***ing dumbass. Okay, I need to rant about critics for a second. Frankly, this is why I really do not like professional critics. I think people should be allowed to have opinions and share them openly. I even get somebody not liking this movie. I wouldn't say it's a movie for everyone. It isn't some mass-produced corporate pile of trash that's pandering to the lowest common denominator. It's a piece of art created with intent, and I don't think 14 critics on Rotten Tomatoes should be allowed to decide it's 40%, when very few people on the planet would agree with that. I get the idea of there being some kind of professional critic. There should be some kind of role for people who have greater knowledge of film production than the general public, who have more in-depth understanding on how story structure works or metaphors. Somebody who just knows a lot of movies and books and stuff so they can explain references. Things that could elevate somebody's understanding on why a movie is as good as it is. And that's not really what we have with critics nowadays, is it? I'm not trying to spread any kind of conspiracy theories or anything, but I don't think it would be that hard for me to kidnap 14 professional movie critics and have them say that a video of me eating a sandwich while you are tripping balls is better than Citizen Kane. I don't think general audience / public opinion is really the best measure for if a movie is good or not. That's part of why we aren't getting as many creative original projects nowadays. Studios are actively trying to pander to the lowest common denominator. That way they can make as much money as possible. And therefore, only the safest, most guaranteed to make money projects get greenlit. As a side note, I've generally avoided watching reviews because I've just been trying to, get my own opinions down beforehand. But, can somebody please tell me why there are so many goddamn thumbnails that are like, is the movie any good? The Markiplier situation is crazy. And, I get it. Maximize the SEO. I understand that. But, the movie's just good. I think it's so annoying. I saw this movie before a lot of those videos even came out. So I'm in a position where I've already seen the movie. I have been thinking about it for days and days and days. And it's a good movie. Even if you don't like it necessarily. There is so much artistic value in this film that you can't just be like, is it though? Is it? Oh no, I'm so confused. I need this YouTuber to tell me how to feel. I did it again. Once again, I haven't actually seen what these people have to say. It's no, offense to them. The titles just annoy me. I swear if I see one more X situation is crazy video, I am going to strangle another elf. But yeah, I don't really know what these people have to say. I haven't seen the videos. No, real offense to them. It's fine. It just really annoys me because the movie's good. It's just a good movie. Stop doing these clickbaity thumbnails. I hate this new era of the internet where you have to word things like this. It is so... Also, even if you don't agree with me on this movie being an absolute masterpiece or whatever, you have to admit the success of this film and the mere fact of its existence and it getting into theaters and all of that is a miracle. And that this movie is the exact kind of thing that films as an art form needed. I mentioned that H-Bomber guy review earlier, and I'd like to bring it up one more time. Later in the review, he mentions that there is a similarity between Simon's plight and that of a YouTuber. I know that might sound kind of silly or something, Sounds like a joke, right? But no, I do get it. But one of the first thoughts I was able to grab onto after this movie finished was this film captures a feeling. A very specific feeling that has been ever so pervasive during the neo-roaring 20s. The very bleak reality we find ourselves in. Despite having enough knowledge to technically navigate it, we're in this very hostile environment that's constantly shifting around us. A world in which it's very hard to find hope. You're moving constantly, but it feels like you're stuck in the same place no matter what you do. And when you look outside, you see these horrific forces at work that you alone have absolutely no chance in hell at stopping, and are unlikely to ever truly understand. But in the end, they don't have to win. In this place without hope, Simon went forward. He went through hell. Even as he reached his end, knowing that there was nothing that could be done to save his own life, he chose to fight. He could have laid down and died. It would have been a lot easier and a lot more painless. But no, he decides to fight tooth and nail to get them a warning, to tell them to get as far away from that hell as possible. He died. But in the end, he saved countless people, most of which he never knew, and possible future generations who will never know his name. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this movie since I saw it for the first time, and I think you can see why. It has everything. Comedy, blood, Lovecraftian horror, blood, violence, blood. Some absolutely amazing shots that just left me in awe. Seriously, these are absolutely crazy. Huge props to Mark and everybody on the team that were making this movie, because
Holy rusted metal, Batman!
This movie looks phenomenal. The very first thought I was able to pull together after the credits rolled, the very first thing that came to mind I need a Blu-ray of this right now. And thankfully, in a recent stream, Mark said he and his team are starting to work on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital options. And I am telling you, the moment that Blu-ray goes on sale, I am gonna buy 20 of them. I also need to talk about the game a bit. David had thought of the idea of this game while at a museum. Something along the lines of being in a submarine underwater and then finding out the Loch Ness monsters nearby. Kind of paraphrasing there. And it ended up evolving into the game we have now. In full disclosure, I had already seen Markiplier's whole series on Iron Lung. This game is short and not super replayable by nature. But even after having already seen the entire thing and knowing where all the scares were, I still jumped at basically all of them. There were parts where the sounds got me, and there's a reason why this game was chosen to be made into a movie. This game has such an atmosphere. I was also playing this game at the brink of passing out. This game makes me tired. No disrespect, I think the concept's really cool. That's not an insult to the game. I was just really tired. Even then, the game was surprisingly fun, and I would not mind seeing some kind of follow-up to this game, be that a direct sequel or a game that's just very similar to it. Also, if you swear at the computer, it'll call you a big old meanie and tell you should be nicer. Don't know why I felt like I needed to mention that. This video is a very daunting one for me. Although the script has come pretty easily, and so far the editing has not been a problem, there's also just so much to talk about with this movie. To talk about everything in this movie would probably take like a 9-hour video essay, or a full-ass book, like 1,000+ pages. I am not kidding, this movie is that packed. You know how The Shining is this huge movie that's kind of over-talked about? It has been dissected thousands of times, thousands of ways, and at this point you probably couldn't string together a new sentence about the movie if you tried. Hell, you probably couldn't even keyboard smash one. Honestly, I feel like this movie has a similar level of ability to be dissected like that. Anybody from any walk of life could come in and see this movie and come out with a completely different perspective on it. Honestly, I would love to see a movie that is just that. Just those other perspectives. I want 2 different documentaries about this film. One really good one with like historians, philosophers, Bible scholars, Buddhist monks, something along those lines. And then another one that's just batshit insane. Something along the lines of Room 237. You know that documentary about The Shining? I want ancient astronaut theorists, Bigfoot hunters, and the crackhead from under my local bridge. Am I a idiot? Some ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Before we wrap this up, I'll reach. Shut the up! There's so much that I've said in this video, and there's so little at the same time. I don't know if I could ever really truly say everything that I want to say. But as of now, I think that I've said basically everything I can without being able to dig into the film frame by frame and analyze every single pixel of Mark's six-pack. If for some reason a Bible scholar, philosophy teacher, or somebody who has like a degree in Buddhist studies or anything, feel free to reach out. I would be happy to make another video just to showcase these other perspectives, because that would be so fascinating. There's so many angles that can be taken on this film. If you made it through the video, why not like and subscribe? Of course, you don't have to. You are your own person. Always remember that. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you. New videos every month. Yeah. Don't know why you're still here. You expecting something? Think I'm gonna jump scare you? I mean, that's how the game ended, but like... Newsflash, we're not underwater. There's no giant skeleton...